Get mantra and meditation MP3s at JasonGallant.ca.
So welcome back. Thanks for watching again. I'm sitting here beside a little stream, little river, so hopefully the noise doesn't bug you too much, but it's one of my favorite places to come. I really like this place. It's kind of like a cozy little place just off the side of a road on the way to a campsite, and then there's this little stream with lots of rocks and mosquitoes too. So that's the only bad part is I'm donating a lot of blood today. But today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about humility. And what I mean by humility is not about thinking that you're unimportant or any of that sort of thing. Like a lot of people think if they're humble that they have to always be down on themselves and think that they're not important, all that. Really, that has nothing to do with it, because sometimes if you have a negative ego, like you're seeing yourself in a bad way, that can be just as destructive to you as seeing yourself in an overinflated sort of way. Basically, both things are worshiping an identification or a role, but not necessarily the real you. So these roles don't offer you freedom. So what I mean about humility is about allowing in the unknown constantly, always allowing in the unknown. Now, there are people that sometimes comment down below, many of them beautiful messages and everything, but sometimes there's somebody that'll say, I'm like the second coming and look how great I am and I'm awake and I'm enlightened and everything that's beyond what I know is crap, right? Sometimes they'll talk from a position of religion, or sometimes they'll talk from a position of one or two experiences they've had, and they say, well, this is the greatest experience ever and it's the only one. And the funny thing about the spiritual path is that it will make you a liar on multiple occasions if you start talking like this, because there's always another level. There's always another level of expansion. There's always another level of allowance. Right? Allowance is what we could say, or what I say anyway, allowing in the unknown. I mean, if you ask anybody on this planet and say, do you know everything? They would say, well, of course not. I mean, unless of course they're delusional, but they say, of course I don't know everything. I mean, there's information that is beyond my level of awareness. And if they do in fact know everything, well, I'm impressed. I'd be impressed. But the thing that I found on this journey is that it's not about what you know. It's about remembering that you are, or experiencing, I mean, experiencing is really the key. Experiencing that you are the things that are beyond what you know. It's an actual experience. Like, an experience is much different than knowing something through your mind. Like you think of something or you have a vision of something. That is not the same as experiencing something. I can know all about trees, but the experience of being a tree is much different. So in this way, your experience is always evolving. And what a lot of people do when they're stuck heavily in their ego is that they stop experiencing. They say, the experience that I've had already is it, and there is no chance of that evolving or changing in any way, or expanding. So what they're doing in this case is really stifling their spiritual evolution. Now, I'm not saying you're supposed to walk around and second guess yourself all the time. That's not what I'm saying, because this is the mind, right? The mind has to know things. I mean, I have to know there's ground underneath my feet in order to walk. I have to know that if there's a bear over there, it's probably good for me to go in the other direction. You know, these things are important to know. But the way you hold yourself internally, the way you let go of your identification with what you know, that can serve you big dividends on the spiritual journey. You might know lots of stuff. You might know almost everything. But the key word is almost. There's always something else that can come in the back door that you don't know. So it's a beautiful time we live in, because there's so much information that contradicts information. So you can go on the internet and find a bunch of things that say this is the way things are, and then you can come up with the exact same studies or different studies that contradict this thing. So you can compare a bunch of credible information and still not find the answer. Now, this is a beautiful gift, because this gift forces you to realize that the truth is always about point of view, at least from an information perspective. But the truth of who you are is when you let go of identifying with information, identifying with how you know that information, identifying with who you are in relationship to that information. And as you let go of what you think you know, you become. And that's it, you just become. It's the ultimate surrender. The ego is about survival, it's about your identity, it's about living life. Yeah, you do these things, but you won't find fulfillment in that, not unconditional fulfillment. You might win some days with ego, you might be very good at knowing something, you might accomplish tasks, which can bring its own reward. It's all great. But these are all your Brahma aspect. These are all your identity as you are moving around in this matrix. But as you go about this, if you wish to experience fulfillment, if you wish to remember who you are, you must let go of the falsehoods of what you think you are or who you think you are. And allow yourself to immerse yourself back into this state that resides within and is always with you, no matter how pretty the outdoors is or unpretty. Right? I think that's why nature is so popular. It's because it helps people remember the prettiness or the beauty that is within. The river just seems to go about its business. It doesn't seem to have an opinion about this rock or that rock, but yet it exists anyway. It continues to flow. So feel free to use your mind when you need to, but you don't have to stay there. You don't have to stay there all the time. You can just be and exist and enjoy that. You could take a break from looking for problems to fix. I mean, you always find what you look for, right? Why not try looking for freedom instead of problems? So let go from time to time of what you think you know. It has served me much better than holding on to something. Because perhaps what you know right now might be true, but for how long is it true? Sometimes tomorrow it changes. So many things are changing and shifting. A lot of astrologers and people right now are talking about how aggressive the changes are happening right now in the astrology and in the world and what's going on. So perhaps what you knew to be true before was fine, but maybe it's not true now. So it's okay to let go and find out what's true again for you. But first you must let go of what you know to be true and then see the world with fresh eyes. And when you see the world with fresh eyes, there isn't so much emotional investment in being right or wrong. It's more about just what is and what makes sense, what is in resonance with this flow that we're beside right now. It's really about letting go of your immersion in the mind and your permanent residence there. You wouldn't live in a crappy apartment forever if you did have another choice. You'd probably say, well, maybe I should look for another place to rent or something, you know? Maybe going out in the woods and camping on a rock or something would be better than living in that old apartment that you were in. This is the way it is with the mind. A lot of people live in the mind, but they don't know how to let go of it, or they don't even entertain the possibility of doing so. So what you know is not really that important. It's really my point. The information that you've gathered is not that important. It serves a purpose, but it will expire at some point. Just like milk. Imagine your great-great-great-grandparents trying to live exactly the same way you are right now. Or applying what they knew in whatever way that they lived, and then all of a sudden they blip into this time zone and they try to live exactly the same way. I mean, it would be quite shocking. So as our information changes, as our way of life changes, and it's snowballing. You know, every 5 years, you know, the way of currency, the way of life, the way people make a living, their technology, everything's changing so fast. We're really realizing that what we know is always evolving too. So don't get too caught up in what you know. Don't get too caught up in holding on to this piece of information that might have outlived its expiry date. And this is especially true with you. Your limitations that you think you have, your positive and negative attributes, all these things. Just let it all go. Just practice that from time to time. So I hope this helps you on your spiritual journey. Take care for now.